Okay, our talk today is about the last great battle that happens during the American Revolution, and that's going to be the Battle of Yorktown. Now, with the help of the French, remember the French have joined us, they gave supplies, men, their navy came. So with the help of the French Navy, George Washington moves his army and surrounds Yorktown. For 11 days, the Americans and the French bombarded the British. And after those 11 days, the British General General Cornwallis surrenders to George Washington. Now, we've talked about a lot of different battles, a lot of different things that took place during the American Revolution. So what I'd like to do after this last battle here is explain a little bit more about why we chose these battles, and just go through and make sure in your notes you have all these things. So in your notes you should have the three causes that we talked about. Taxes being a big cause. The respect and the freedom that the American colonists wanted. We should know about the significance of Paul Revere's ride and how he had warned Samuel Adams and John Hancock, who were part of the Sons of Liberty, as was Paul Revere, about the British's invasion of Lexington and Concord. We should know about the Boston Tea Party and why that was significant. And the significance of that wasn't that it happened, it was the intolerable acts that happened after the Boston Tea Party that really got the ball rolling for the American Revolution. And then we have the several different battles that we talked about, Lexington and Concord being one of them. What's the significance of Lexington and Concord? In your notes it should say that it was where the first shots were fired, first major battles, or the first battles of the American Revolution. We also talked about the Continental Congress and the Declaration of Independence. Why are these two things significant? Well, the Continental Congress served as America's government at the time of the build-up and the start of the American Revolution. And the Declaration of Independence is pretty significant because it stated to the colonies, and we sent a copy over to the British government explaining why we are now a free and independent country. The Battle of Trenton, why is that significant? Well, it's one of our first times where we get to get inside the mind of George Washington and how he took on battling and choosing his battles. And that was significant because he did a nighttime assault in the winter, and it was on Christmas. So then we get to the Battle of Saratoga. And why is that important? In your notes you should have that it was a major victory for us. Americans started thinking that they could finally win this thing. Maybe we can win this. And then also the French decided to join us, which was huge because with their supplies and their men and their navy, it really helped out the Americans against the British. We then talked a little bit about Valley Forge and why Valley Forge was important. It was the winter camp for George Washington's Continental Army. Over 2,000 out of 12,000 men died, and Washington never once left his men. So that was another one of those cases we're building for why George Washington was so loved by his men. Then we finally get to the last battle, the Battle of Yorktown. Final major battle of the American Revolution, and it is where General Cornwallis of the British surrendered to George Washington. Now, why these battles? We talked about just some battles out of plenty that happened. There were many clashes and confrontations all over, but I only chose certain ones for you to focus on. And why is that? It's to help create a timeline. These battles can be placed on a timeline in a certain order, and then what you can do is we can explore this a little bit more deeply. You can choose some of these smaller battles and maybe try and find significance in them. These battles, the ones that I chose, were also very significant. Saratoga is that turning point. Lexington Concord was the first battle. Trenton helped raise the morale of the Army and the American people when we were down after not having had a victory after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And then finally, all these battles give us a broad idea so that we can explore this war a little bit more deeply. These are just events right now that happened. But what I want you to be able to do is to dig a little bit deeper into these events, especially something like Valley Forge. How can you examine Valley Forge in a way that really shows what maybe men were feeling, or why Washington being there is significant? So with all these notes, hopefully you've had a deep experience with looking at these battles and other battles in between, and we're going to explore the American Revolution in class as far as mapping things out and making sure we have an idea of where all these things took place.